There is a kind of adulthood that nobody announces. It does not arrive with a ceremony. It does not arrive with applause. It does not even arrive with certainty. Sometimes, sometimes it arrives quietly with a cup of coffee. The same cup, the same morning, the same small ritual. Except mm, this time you do not add sugar. Not because sweetness is wrong, not because pleasure is childish, no. Not because life must become hard in order to become serious, no. But because one day you realize you have spent too long softening things that were never meant to be swallowed whole. Coffee without sugar is not only about taste, no. Sometimes it is about truth. It is about the moment you stop disguising reality so it can pass more easily through the mouth. And life without explanations is similar to that. Not a life without communication, no. Not a life without kindness, no. Not a life where you become unreachable, cold, or proud of being difficult. No, 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 nothing of that. A life where you no longer feel required to justify your existence to every person who questions your shape. There is a difference between explaining yourself and begging to be permitted. One is communication, the other is negotiation against your own dignity. And many people do not notice when they have crossed that line. No. They think they are being patient. They think they are being mature. They think they are keeping peace. Mm. But often they are simply performing innocence for people who already decided not to understand. You explain why you need space. You explain why your standards changed. You explain why your silence is not punishment. You explain why your no is not aggression. You explain why your life is beginning to move in a direction they did not approve. And at first it feels responsible, oh yes. Then it becomes exhausting. Then it becomes a prison with a very polite furniture. Because every unnecessary explanation takes a little rent from your nervous system. Mm. Every attempt to be understood by someone committed to misunderstanding you costs something. Not always loudly, not always visibly, no, but it costs. It costs clarity. It costs peace. It costs the clean authority of your own decision. And at some point, At some point, you begin to realize that not everyone asking for your explanation is seeking truth. Some people are seeking access. Some are seeking delay. Some are seeking a weakness in Mhm. Some are simply, say, uncomfortable with the version of ye that no longer asks permission before existing. And this is where discernment matters. Because silence is not always wisdom. Sometimes silence is fear. But explanation is not always honesty. Mhm. Sometimes explanation is self-abandonment, wearing good manners. So the question is not, should I explain myself? No. The question is, who is asking and what have they done with the truth I already gave them? Mm, That question, that question changes everything. Because there are people who deserve conversation. There are people who deserve clarity. There are people who have earned your openness through care, consistency, respect, and the ability to listen without turning your truth into trial. Those people should not be punished for the damage others have caused. But there are also people who do not want an explanation. They want a court case. They want your boundary to arrive dressed as an apology. They want your decision to be uncertain enough that they can negotiate it back into obedience. And oof, when that happens, life without explanations becomes necessary, not cruel, necessary. Because the mature life is not the life where everybody understands you. It is the life where your choices are no longer held hostage by everyone's interpretation of them. Coffee without sugar, life without explanations. It sounds simple, but beneath it there is a whole architecture of return. You stop adding sweetness to truths that need to remain clear. You stop placing cushions around decisions that already cost you enough. You stop decorating your no until it looks like a maybe. You stop writing essays for people who never were going to read the first sentence honestly. And slowly something returns. Your speech becomes cleaner. Your body becomes quieter. Your decisions become less theatrical. You do not need to slam the door. No. You do not need to announce a new era. No, 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 no. You do not need to post a declaration in capital letters with thunder behind it. No. You simply stop over-serving the misunderstanding. You let the coffee be coffee. You let the boundary be a boundary. You let the decision stand without sending it into the world with 20 bodyguards and a trembling apology. That is not bitterness. That is refinement. Because bitterness says, I will never explain anything to anyone again. Whereas refinement says, I know where explanation belongs, and I know where it becomes a leakage. That is a big difference. The sovereign person is not incapable of softness, no. The sovereign person is not allergic to tenderness, no. The sovereign person does not confuse directness with cruelty, no. But the sovereign person has learned that sweetness must be chosen, not demanded. And explanations must be offered where they serve truth, not where they feed confusion. Sometimes people will call this distance. Let them. Sometimes they will call it arrogance. Let them. Sometimes they will say you changed. Perhaps you did. Perhaps you stopped diluting yourself so the room could keep pretending your discomfort was manageable. Perhaps you stopped making your life more convenient for people who never asked what it was costing you. Perhaps you stopped turning every boundary into a public service announcement. Good. Very good. Not everything sacred needs a committee. Not every decision needs a witness. Not every chapter needs a press release. There is a kind of peace that arrives when you stop explaining what your spirit has already outgrown. You do not need everyone to understand the route in order to walk it. No. You do not need every guest to approve the table in order to eat with dignity. You do not need every old version of your life to bless the one that is beginning. Sometimes maturity is quiet. It is not a speech. No, it is the absence of unnecessary speech. It is the message you do not send. It is the argument you do not enter. It is the defense you no longer prepare. It is the performance you quietly resign for. And perhaps that is why the phrase carries weight. Coffee without sugar, life without explanations. Because it is not really about coffee, and it is not really about silence either. It is about the moment you stop betraying your own clarity to make your growth more comfortable for people who preferred your confusion. It is about the moment you taste life directly and realize you are strong enough not to disguise it. Not all of it will be sweet. Some of it will be sharp. Some of it will be unfamiliar. Some of it will ask you to sit with yourself without reaching for the old habit of explaining your way back into acceptance. But on the other side of that discomfort, there is freedom. a quieter freedom, a grown freedom, a freedom that no longer needs to convince everyone before it begins. So today, ask yourself, where am I still adding sugar? Where am I softening a truth that needs to remain honest? Where am I explaining because I am afraid to be disliked? That distinction matters because peace is not built by being understood everywhere. Peace is built by being aligned somewhere real. And sometimes that begins with a cup of coffee. No sugar, no performance, no unnecessary explanation. Just truth, held steadily enough that it no longer needs to keep apologizing for its taste. Mm. For those who require cleaner alignment, because beyond what is shared here, there are forms of work not conducted in public. Access exists. But for today, let this be enough. You are allowed to stop sweetening the truth for people who only liked you when you were easier to swallow. Let the coffee be coffee. Let your life be yours.